Do you know how much you spend every month to use your smartphone? Looking at some of the biggest carriers for their cell phone plans, on the low end, you've got about $50 a month. On the higher end, it's about $100 or more per month. And then if you think about getting a new smartphone, that's usually going to be about $500 to $1,000 to get a new or new-ish smartphone. And if you consider that people use their smartphones for about 2 to 3 years before they get a new one, that's looking to be about $10 per month on the low end to about $30 or more on the high end. We're talking most people are probably spending $60, $70 per month on the low end, $120 or even more on the high end just to use your smartphone every month. Now, I am as cheap as they come and I spend way less than that. And here are the 3 things that I do to drastically spend way less using my smartphone. The first thing is I use Google Voice. Now, depending on how you use that may not even save you any money. The way I use it, it typically does, and it typically saves me quite a bit. The second thing I do is I only buy used smartphones. I know a lot of you don't like the idea of a used smartphone, but I want to show you why it makes a ton of sense. And the third thing I do is use a much less expensive cell phone plan. Now, I've used a bunch of different plans. I've tried them all out. And about 2 years ago, I switched over to Mint Mobile. That's the one I am using now. And I'm partnering with Mint Mobile for this video. Later on in this video, I'll talk about some of the other plans I've used and why I've ended up with Mint Mobile and like it so much. First, let's talk about Google Voice. Google Voice is a free service that Google provides. They give you a phone number and you can use that phone number to make calls. Now, I don't know how most people use it, but the way I use it is I use that number for my primary number. I've had my number for I think about 15 years now. The nice thing about it is every single text that's ever been sent to me, every single voicemail that's ever been sent to me, I still have full access to. If I ever switch phone numbers or providers, doesn't matter, because using Google Voice means I keep all of my data. A really cool thing about Google Voice is you can make and receive phone calls using your computer. So a lot of times when I need to make a phone call, I just do it on my computer. Or if you have the Google Voice app on your phone, you can use that as well. And the cool thing about Google Voice is you just need an internet connection. So if I'm at home or work, I don't even need a cell phone plan, but when I'm out and about, that's when I want a cell phone plan. So I can still use Google Voice to make and receive calls or texts, but I need data for that. Let's talk about used phones for a second. So I've got the Google Pixel 6 right now. I think at this point, it's about maybe 3 or 4 years old. Everything works totally fine, despite the phone being a few years old. The thing is, when you buy a used phone, you can get them for dirt cheap. I get all my used phones using Swappa. They make it really easy to find a used phone for a good price. It lists the condition so you know exactly what you get. I've been using Swappa for nearly 10 years and you can get a used phone for a fraction of the cost of a new phone. And lastly, as I mentioned, I use Mint Mobile for my cell phone plan. A few things I really like about Mint Mobile. For one, you don't have to get like multiple plans or a big family plan to get a good price for a cell phone plan. You can get just one line if you want. If you do want a family plan, that's what I've done with me and my wife. Payment is really simple. Their website is nice and slick. But what's really nice for me is I don't need a lot of data. So I've been on the plan that gives you 5 gigs per month, and that's plenty for me. Most of the time I'm either at home or at work where I use Wi-Fi anyway. So I don't need a lot of data. So I can save a lot of money by getting a plan that actually works for me. In the past, I've used Freedom Pop for a cell phone plan. That was like the cheapest thing I've ever found, and it was the shadiest website I have ever seen. They did everything in their power to make you spend more money. I don't even know if Freedom Pop is still around, but if they are, I sure hope they have changed their practices. After Freedom Pop, I used Tello for a while, and Tello was actually a really good price as well, but I just couldn't get as much data as I needed for being out and about. So that's when I started using Mint Mobile a couple of years ago, and they've been my favorite provider ever since. For me, my favorite thing about Mint Mobile is I can actually just pay for what I want to use. Most other cell phone plans I have seen kind of cater to, we're going to give you as much as possible and you're going to pay for that. Because I don't need a lot of data, it's nice that Mint Mobile gives me the freedom to only pay for what I need. So I save a ton of money each month. Hopefully some of these ideas will be helpful to you. Thanks for watching.